where everyone has already returned. As soon as the maids see Van, they get terrified. Roval tells them not to be afraid. When Van switches back into his human form, everyone is shocked. He looks extremely handsome and well-presented. Everyone sits down and starts talking. Suddenly, a maid runs in, panicking, and says that Raphaelia is missing. She's not in the house at all. Hearing this, everyone gets worried and immediately starts searching for Raphaelia. They look everywhere, but they can't find her anywhere. Then Van opens the gate and uses his spirit powers to sense something. He says that he just heard people talking about how, if they want access to the medicine, they would need to kidnap that girl. Ellen immediately realizes what happened. She says that those people actually came to kidnap her, but they mistook Raphaelia for her and kidnapped Raphaelia by accident. Then we see Sovel, whose daughter has been kidnapped. He looks completely broken and deeply worried, constantly thinking about his daughter. At the same time, Van uses his wind spirit to search the surroundings and tries to find out where she might be. That's when he hears some voices. Those people are talking among themselves, saying that they should have kidnapped the boy instead, because if they wanted to find out about the medicine, they had no choice but to kidnap his daughter. From this, we learn that those people actually came to kidnap Elon, but by mistake, they kidnapped Raphaelia instead. When Elon hears this, she feels terrible and starts crying, blaming herself, thinking that her sister was kidnapped because of her. Sovel immediately comes to her, hugs her, and comforts her, telling her that none of this is her fault and that she should stop blaming herself. Then they ask Van if he can figure out where Raphaelia is right now. Just then, a maid enters and says that she found a letter in Raphaelia's room. When they check it, they realize that the letter was sent by the prince himself. In the letter, Raphaelia was invited to meet him outside. Sovel explains that Raphaelia had recently become quite close to the prince, and they used to exchange letters often. This makes everyone suspicious, thinking that maybe the prince is behind the kidnapping. Elon then asks Van if he can hear anyone nearby using words like medicine girl or something similar. Van focuses and confirms that yes, there are people nearby using those exact words. The scene then shifts to the prince and his companions. They are discussing how strange it is that no one knows the true identity of the healing princess. The prince agrees, while Hume thinks to himself how badly he wishes he knew how that medicine was made. Hume then remembers the king's warning, telling him that the Venkus family is extremely important and that he must not make any mistakes. While thinking all this, Hume asks the prince whether he has ever met the hero's daughter. The prince replies that he has met her once. At that moment, 3 guards suddenly alert them that someone is approaching. Suddenly, Sovel bursts through the door, breaking it open, and angrily demands to know where his daughter is. He is furious and starts shouting at the prince. The guards tell Sovel that he cannot speak to the prince like that and that he should calm down. The prince also says that they haven't done anything wrong. Before things escalate further, Elon steps in and stops Sovel, telling him that Raphaelia is not there. Sovel is shocked and says she was supposed to be here. Elon explains that the spirits checked and confirmed Raphaelia is not present. Hearing this completely breaks Sovel, and he becomes deeply depressed. The prince then tries to approach Elon, but she immediately tells him to stay away. At the same time, Elon's father grabs the prince and warns him to stay away from his daughter and never try to get close to her again. The others recognize Sovel and realize that he is the legendary hero who once saved the world. Even Hume acknowledges this. The prince tries to explain that they misunderstood him. He says he only wanted to apologize to Elon for what happened before and asks to speak privately. In the next scene, Sovel shows the letter to the prince and asks him what it means. If he didn't kidnap his daughter, then who did? The prince claims that the letter is not written by him and asks to examine it. After looking at it, he says the handwriting is not his. Sovel accuses him of lying, pointing out that the royal seal on the letter belongs to the prince. The prince admits the seal is real, but insists the handwriting is not his, and asks Sovel to trust him. Sovel then asks what they were actually doing there. The prince finally explains everything honestly. He says they came to investigate how the medicine was made and where it originated from, because the king was concerned. Hume adds that there were rumors that Elon had discovered the medicine herself, which is why they came to investigate. The prince firmly states that he did not kidnap Raphaelia, especially because she is a close friend of his. Hume then approaches Elon and realizes she is the Spirit Queen's daughter. He introduces himself as Hume, a court healer, and mentions that he also has a spirit named Asset. He summons the spirit, and a beautiful rabbit appears. As soon as the rabbit sees Elon, it clings to her affectionately. Hume says this proves that Elon is the one behind the medicine, the true healing princess. Elon admits the truth and says that since everything is already exposed, there's no point in hiding it anymore. She then makes a deal. If they help find Raphaelia, she will share the medicine's formula, explain how it's made, and even provide samples. Sovel is shocked and asks Elon what she's doing, but Elon says she knows exactly what she's doing. She adds one condition: Raphaelia must be brought back alive and unharmed. The prince agrees to the deal. In the next scene, they start planning and discuss possible places where Raphaelia could be taken. They identify an abandoned location that was once used by the Venkus family but is now completely deserted. Elon asks Van to scout the place, and he agrees and disappears. Meanwhile, Elon looks extremely tense. The prince notices this and carefully approaches her, apologizing again. He asks if she would be willing to talk to him after they rescue Raphaelia. Elon hesitates but eventually agrees, remembering how the prince had shown regret in the past. Van soon returns and reports that there are 7 people at the location and 1 girl with them. Realizing Raphaelia is there, Sovol, Rovel, Elon, and Van teleport to the location. They see 2 men talking, and Sovol immediately demands to know where his daughter is. More enemies appear. Rovel tells Sovol to go inside and find Raphaelia while he handles the enemies outside. Rovel fights them effortlessly, and then Ori joins the battle, saying she was bored and decided to help. Together they combine their powers and completely overwhelm the enemies. Elon comments that this is the first time she has ever seen her mother and father fighting together, and she finds it amazing. Inside, Sovol confronts the 7th enemy, who attacks him, but Sovol easily shatters his armor and defeats him. He finally finds Raphaelia, who is terrified. Sovol comforts her, apologizes for everything that happened, and safely takes her outside. In the end, Raphaelia is escorted safely. Then we see Raphaelina's father, which means Sovol. He brings Raphaelina out of the cave, and she's completely unconscious. Seeing this, Ellen asks if Raphaelina is okay and whether something happened to her. Sovol replies that she's perfectly fine, she's just very tired, so she must have fallen asleep. After that, he thanks Ravel and Ellen for helping find his daughter. Ravel replies that it's no big deal and this kind of thing is normal, so there's no need to thank him. Then the scene shifts, and we see that everyone has finally returned home. Raphaelina is still sleeping, and Ellen asks why she hasn't woken up yet. Sovol says she's still asleep and that she probably feels safe and comfortable here. Ellen tells him to forget about it and changes the topic. She says that both father and mother fought really well earlier and that she enjoyed watching it. Ravel is surprised and asks if she really thinks so, and Ellen says yes. Van also praises Ravel, saying it was the first time he saw Ravel fight like that and that it was amazing. Just then, Ori also arrives, and everyone starts talking together. They reminisce about old times when they used to fight side by side. During this conversation, Alberto says to Ellen that she doesn't know much about her father. He tells her about a time when Ravel was chasing criminals who were accompanied by wolves. Those wolves were extremely dangerous, and defeating them seemed almost impossible. But at that moment, Ori appeared, and as soon as the wolves saw her, they instantly calmed down and started behaving like puppies. Hearing this, Ellen is shocked and finds it hard to believe. Alberto continues the story and says that once the wolves calmed down, Ravel attacked them using water magic, creating a tornado-like attack and throwing them far away. After hearing this, Ellen becomes a little sad. When asked why, she says she just feels bad for the wolves. Alberto explains that there's nothing to worry about because the wolves were later released and only the criminals were captured. Ellen feels relieved after hearing this. While they're talking, the old butler arrives and informs them that Raphaelina has finally woken up. Everyone is happy to hear this. They all go to meet her, and the prince is also there. When Raphaelina sees the prince, she feels happy. The prince tells her that he's glad she woke up and that she wasn't injured. Raphaelina thanks him as well. At that moment, Ravel and Ellen arrive too. As soon as Raphaelina sees Ellen, she runs toward her and rudely says that Ellen is the one everyone has been talking about all day, and that she's tired of hearing her name. Sovol scolds Raphaelina and tells her that she shouldn't speak to Ellen like that. This makes Raphaelina feel bad, and she starts crying. Ellen apologizes to her, but Raphaelina suddenly asks if Ellen is the same age as her. Ellen says yes. Raphaelina then says that it's impossible and tells her to compare their heights. She points out how small Ellen is compared to her, and even starts comparing other things, saying she's far ahead. Ellen realizes what's going on and starts crying, wondering why her height isn't increasing and why she still looks like a child. Ravel hugs her and tells her not to worry, saying that when the time comes, she'll grow up too. But Ellen remains sad, and Rovel picks her up and takes her away. Van looks angrily at Raphaelina and says that a filthy human dared to mock his master, and he won't forget this. Raphaelina gets scared, wondering what Van might do to her later. The scene shifts again, and we see Ravel taking Ellen to her room. He explains that she's a spirit, and when the time comes, she will grow up, so she shouldn't worry so much. But Ellen keeps thinking that everything that happened was her fault. Ravel reassures her and tells her that she doesn't need to rush growing up and that she should enjoy her childhood. He even says that he doesn't want her to grow up too fast and leave him. He starts rambling, saying that if she grows up, she'll get married and go far away, so he wishes she would never grow up. Ellen listens for a moment, then suddenly smacks him to snap him out of it. Revell realizes what he was saying and feels embarrassed, saying he doesn't know what came over him. Ellen then says she feels better now, and Revell is relieved to hear that. After that, the scene shifts to Sovel and Revell talking about everything that happened. Sovel apologizes for involving them in this situation, but Revell says there's no need to apologize because it was normal and he was partly at fault too. They then decide to drink together and have some fun. Next, the scene shifts to the next day. We see Van and Kai standing at Ellen's gate. Van questions how a human like Kai can protect Ellen. Kai tells him not to underestimate him and says that while Van may protect Ellen in the spirit world, Kai's presence is necessary in the human world. They start arguing, but Kai suggests that they could work together to protect Ellen. Van refuses at first. Kai then extends his hand toward Van. Van asks what he's doing, and Kai explains that in the human world you shake hands to become friends. Van hesitates, but eventually shakes his hand. Kai starts touching Van's paw too much, and Van gets angry, saying only Ellen has the right to touch him like that. Kai insists he was just shaking hands. At that moment, the prince arrives. The scene shifts again, and we see the prince sitting on one side, while Ellen, Sovel, and Revell sit together. Ellen says she's here to give him medicine. Revell places the medicine in front of the prince. Ellen explains that it's an antibiotic that can be given to patients and also explains its side effects. Finally, they talk about the letter that was sent to Raffalina. Ellen says that the letter came from his side, so he must know who sent it. The prince then says that he understands who Ellen is pointing at. Ellen replies that she already knows this was actually done by his father, the king. She says he did all of this on purpose so that he could learn more about the medicine. Hearing this, the prince feels really hurt, realizing that his own father was behind everything. At that moment, Revell speaks up and says that this is exactly why he dislikes the prince's father so much. He says the king always does things in such a twisted and indirect way, and he can't stand that kind of behavior. The prince quietly listens to everything without saying a word. Soon, the conversation shifts back to the medicine. Ellen explains that the medicine must be used very carefully, and she says she will explain how to use it properly in a little while. The prince then asks why she isn't telling them how the medicine is actually made. Ellen replies that this medicine is not created in the human world, nor is it created in the spirit world, so even if she explained the method, it wouldn't be of any use. The others start thinking that Ellen might be lying. Seeing this, Ellen tells them to summon their spirit and ask it directly. The human calls his spirit, and the spirit confirms the same thing, saying that the medicine was made neither in the human world nor in the spirit world. Because of that, learning its formula would be pointless. After that, everyone starts to leave. Just then, the prince reminds Ellen that she promised to speak with him alone. Ellen agrees and asks everyone else to step outside. Revell says that he can stay if she wants, but Ellen politely asks him to leave as well, saying that she wants to talk to the prince in private. Once they are alone, the prince again brings up the topic of spirits and the past. Ellen tells him that his ancestors made a huge mistake and felt no guilt about it at all. Because of that, what happened in the past cannot be fixed now. She says she cannot do anything about the debt placed upon him. He will have to find the answers himself and endure whatever is happening. The prince looks deeply saddened after hearing this. Ellen then says that he has said what he wanted to say, and she has said everything she needed to say as well. She tells him that she has nothing more to discuss with him, and that their deal ends right there. After saying this, Ellen leaves. The last episode opens with the king standing quietly as several medicines are laid out before him. A guard soon arrives and informs him that the prince has finally returned. Moments later, the prince enters the room and faces his father. The king looks relieved and tells him that he seems healthier than before, saying he's glad the prince made it back safely after everything that happened. But instead of responding warmly, the prince listens in silence before finally snapping. He questions his father's actions and demands to know why he ordered the kidnapping of the Revell family's daughter, especially when he knew the prince was going to meet them. He accuses the king of using him as nothing more than a tool and asks whether his life holds any real value to him at all. The prince then delivers Ellen's warning, making it clear that if the royal family ever dares to interfere with her family again, the consequences will be severe. The king reacts calmly, almost amused, before issuing new orders. He commands the guards to seal off the royal capital completely, banning all outsiders from entering. He also orders all healers in the country to gather immediately, stating that their own citizens will be treated first. When the king tells the prince to leave, the prince refuses, saying he will stay and help. The king pauses before admitting that his son has truly matured. The scene then shifts to Ellen, who is confronting the group responsible for Raphalia's kidnapping. She warns their leader that the royal family will hunt them down if they stay, but she offers them a chance to escape if they cooperate. When they ask what she wants, Ellen tells them to spread a rumor across the kingdom that the royal family secretly stole all the medicine from the Bcuz family for themselves. Although hesitant, they eventually agree. Sovol questions whether this plan is right, but Ellen firmly believes it's necessary. She explains that the royal family must face the consequences of their actions. She asks Sovol to temporarily refuse treatment to patients and tell them that the royal family took all the medicine. She promises to return with the supplies once her plan is complete. Sovol's father supports the decision and instructs Sovol to follow through. With that settled, they retreat into the spirit world. Soon after, Sovol begins turning patients away, repeating the same explanation every time. As word spreads, public anger grows rapidly. Citizens become furious, believing that the royal family abandoned them during a crisis. Before long, crowds march toward the royal castle in protest. The prince orders the guards to remain calm and ensure no civilians are harmed. Meanwhile, the king agrees to allow treatment on castle grounds, but strictly forbids distributing medicine due to limited supplies. Later, the prince learns that the Bcuz family has refused all cooperation and that Ellen is nowhere to be found. Confused and frustrated, he struggles to understand what's really happening. Back in the spirit world, Ellen watches the chaos unfold and begins doubting herself. Seeing her distress, her mother embraces her and reassures her that she made the right choice. She apologizes for placing Ellen between the conflict of humans and spirits. Overwhelmed, Ellen breaks down, but her mother gently comforts her, promising that everything will soon improve. Back at the castle, the situation worsens. The disease spreads further, infecting even the king and the prince. Amid the tension, Van notices Ellen's sadness and tries to cheer her up. After some playful interaction, Ellen finally smiles again, and Van tells her that her smile suits her best. Rovell and Ori soon arrive, bringing relief. Rovell reassures Ellen that she has nothing to regret and that her decision was absolutely justified. The story then cuts to the king, now critically ill and bedridden. With no medicine left, the healers are helpless. Just when all hope seems lost, Rovell arrives alongside the princess, shocking everyone. He announces that they've brought medicine. The healers are overwhelmed with gratitude. Rovell hands over the supplies but warns them not to abuse this help again. After that, he leaves without hesitation. Ellen later meets the prince and explains that the medicine has already been given to the healers, urging him to take it as well. She compares the situation to the previous monster invasion, pointing out how similar the kingdom's mistakes were. The prince agrees, admitting that the kingdom has repeatedly tried to exploit spirit powers and that it was wrong. This time, he truly understands the cost of those choices. As Ellen prepares to leave, the prince asks whether they will still talk once everything is over. She admits they'll remain far apart, but he says distance doesn't matter as long as they stay connected. She agrees. They also make it clear that any future medicine must be obtained through the fair trade. The prince accepts this condition. With medicine restored, Sovol resumes treating patients. Ellen and her father summon powerful spirits to strengthen immunity, heal the land, and restore crops. Slowly but surely, the disease disappears completely. Trade resumes, visitors return, and the kingdom begins to recover. In the final moments, the king admits that while things are improving, his greed during the pandemic caused immense harm. Rovell confronts him, asking whether he plans to interfere again. The king remains silent, fully aware of his mistakes. Rovell acknowledges that at least the lesson was learned. And with that, Season 1 comes to an end. Let me know in the comments how you felt about this season, and don't forget to like and subscribe.